Hello, today we are looking at strategic evaluation and control. The objectives are to understand strategic evaluation and types of strategic evaluation that the business can use. We also look at the importance of undertaking strategic evaluation. We look at what strategic controls that can be put in place in the organization. Then we look at organizational culture. How do we sustain it? How do we transmit it to the other members of the business? When you are discussing strategic evaluation, what we mean is we are collecting information about how well the strategic plan is progressing or how well the strategy we've put in place that has. It also means processing or determining the effectiveness of a given strategy in achieving the organizational objectives and taking collective measures. And then it's a process that critically examines a strategy and then also collecting and analyzing information about the strategies activities, what are the activities that it has done, and then the characteristics. So why do you need to undertake strategic evaluation at all? As I said, you come up with a strategy, you implement it, the strategy is going on. So you have to evaluate to determine what is going on. Why do you need to evaluate? One, it assists in making informed judgment about the strategy, whether the strategy you decided on is working. You need more information, proper information. It's when you evaluate that you see that. It also helps to provide gaps which is needed to improve the effectiveness of the strategy. What are the gaps? No, that is what you want to do. That is what you think. The way we want things to work on paper may not be the same as what will work on the field. So what are the gaps that emerges? And then once you close those gaps, then you are certain that your strategy will be able to achieve its goals. It also helps to improve strategy design and implementation, and then also helps to identify areas for improvement, and then enables the business to demonstrate its business success or progress and better communicate it to other stakeholders, and then also understand your target audience needs and how to meet those needs, because the gaps helps you know all those things. So what are the types of strategic evaluation we have? You have the needs assessment, you have the process or implementation evaluation, and this has been seen to be, or these are also known as the formative evaluation types. So the needs assessment determines who needs the program, who needs what we want to provide, how great the need is, and what can be done to best meet the needs. So you need those things to help you know whether your strategy is working. And then such a needs assessment can help determine which target group are not being served and provide insight into what features to include in the new strategy in order to meet those needs. So who are we serving? We say we want to go to this market. Who are the people that we are serving? When we do the needs assessment, as the strategy evolves, we know who needs to be done, what needs to be done. And then also you have the process implementation evaluation. It examines the processes of implementing the strategy and determine whether the strategy is operating as planned. The process is going through at the implementation stage, we decide on what needs to be done. So are they actually doing what they are supposed to be doing? This is what this type of the session helps us to know. And then can be done continuously or as a one-time assessment. So the process evaluation, you can do it, maybe you can take a week and then you look at it, or you can do it every day to know whether what you want is actually what is being done. And the results are used to improve the strategy. The process evaluation may focus on a number or a type of participant reached. Okay, so when you are evaluating this, you try to find out how many people we've been able to assess, and also to determine how satisfied those individuals are in terms of the strategy that we've put in place. So if for example we want to reduce complaints from our customers, we put a system in place, and then we've been able to get to a lot of customers as much as possible, and also to determine whether they are happy with what we are doing in order to get the information from them. And then also you have the output evaluation, and this investigates to what extent the strategy is achieving its output or its outcomes. The outcomes are the short term and the medium term changes that takes place. Okay, and then so if for example an outcome can evaluate how many improvements there are in terms of the participants, their knowledge, their skills, their attitude, their intention, or behavior. So the outcome will have to evaluate what the strategy intends to do. Our strategy intended to increase the knowledge of our clients or participants on our products. Have we been able to do that? The strategy evaluation at this stage will let you know that. And then also you ought to look at the impact. What was the effect on the participants? So determine any broader long-term changes that has occurred as a result of the strategy we've put in place. These impacts are the net effects. Okay, so the net effects, what is happening. So for example, you can even look at COVID-19, the strategies that the Ghana Medical Association has put in place. So one is wearing of masks. So you can find out whether it has had any impact on what we are doing. Okay, so that is one of them. So the strategic evaluation framework. So you look at this diagram. First, you have to review underlying basis. What is it? What are you looking at? Okay, we are trying to grow, so that is the basis we are looking at. So when you review, the first thing is whether you try to find out whether there are differences in what you intend to do and what you are doing. If it is yes, then you have to move to 3, take corrective action. So we want to grow at 10%. We are now growing at 2%. The time has come for us to do the evaluation. We do that. So once there's this huge gap, it means that something is wrong. So we have to take corrective actions to change what we are doing to ensure that we grow at a 10%. If you do review the basis and then you see that there are no difference, okay, so measure, the next thing you do is to measure the performance. And also if you go to the performance level and then you see that there are differences, yes, you move to take corrective actions. If there are no differences, then you continue with what you are doing. Okay, so when you look at the underlying basis, what are the things that inform what you are doing, and there are differences, you have to change. If there are no differences, then you go and find out or measure what your performance is. If you measure it and also there are differences, you take corrective actions. If there are no differences, then it means what you are doing is good, so you go on doing with what you are doing. So that is an example of strategic evaluation framework. So once you are taking corrective action, one thing you need to be doing is to control what is going on so that you avoid deviation as much as possible. So strategic control is the process of monitoring and correcting a business strategy and performance. Also, the process by which management sees what is happening is what was supposed to happen. Okay, so when you are controlling, all that you are doing is trying to see whether what you intend to do is actually what is being done. It involves tracking a strategy as is being implemented to ensure that it achieves those goals. And then also concerned with detecting problems or changes in the strategy and then making necessary adjustments to it. Note, all that the strategy needs to do is to achieve a goal. So when you are controlling, all that you are doing is you are making sure that you identify the deviations and then correct it accordingly. What are the basic steps in strategic control? One, you need to set standards. What do you intend to do? Grow at 10%, grow at 15%, reduce customer complaints. So that's the first thing you do. And then you measure the performance. We are growing at 10%. Are we actually growing at 10%? Once you determine what you are, so 10%, we measure performance, we are at 8%. So at 8%, then third thing we do is we compare. Okay, you compare business performance to goals and standards. So we start 10%. We measured 8%. We compare 10 against 8. So there's a deviation. Then we take corrective action. As I always tell you, there's always a deviation or margin of error, depending on what is permittable in the industry. So if your industry permits 2%, then it means 2% will be plus or minus 2. So if you set out to grow at 10, and then you are growing at 8, because of what is permissible in the industry, your 2% should not be a cause for alarm. Okay. So as you set the standards, that is the first step in the control process. What are the standards? The standards are the targets, the objectives that you set for your business. And then also the next thing is to measure your performance. Okay. What are some of the things that you can use? Once you can use financial performance indicators like business cash flow, working capital, key ratio analysis, efficiency ratio, sales growth, liquidity ratio, and financial leverages. All these things are things that you can use to determine your financial performance. And then also you can look at profitability, how profitable you've been. You look at your gross profit margin, your net profit margin. I gave you the ratios, the two sessions back, so go refer to that, it will help you. And then also you can also look at your customer loyalty and retention. You are measuring performance. What did you set out to perform, to achieve? Okay, so in looking at the customer loyalty and retention, you can look at collecting feedback from customers to identify where improvement can be made to achieve product or service enhancement. Okay, so you measure that, and you can also look at your employee performance. Look at your per customer or per employee performance in terms of sales. What is their contribution in terms of profit? What is their contribution in terms of expenditure and all that? So that is the next stage. You first set goals. The next thing is you identify and you measure your performance. Then you go to comparing their performance. Okay. So at this stage, what you are looking at to find the difference between the actual performance and the standard. One thing you should always know, that what we plan is not normally what happens. Hardly do they match. If they match, you thank God, but hardly. So it is necessary, or it is important for you to evaluate the deviations. Determine why we intend to grow at 10%, we are at 8. You need to see to identify the deviation, and then also determine why the standard is not being met. Okay, so why is it that we started at 10, we are at 8? You need to find out what those problems are. Okay. Some of the tools that you can use the graphs, the charts, the histogram, The SWOT analysis, you can use it when you are looking at your customers, your competitors. Okay, you can also use it to determine your customers, what is good about them and all that. Then you can also use the market growth, and then you can use market attractiveness. What make the market attractive? It depends on the demand of the market. It depends on regulations. It depends on the type of competitiveness on the market, on all that. The next thing, once you've seen that there are deviations, then it means you need to take corrective actions. And this normally turns out to be the final stage in the strategic control processes. Okay, what this stage intends to do is to ensure that you initiate corrections to take off any defects or deviation in actual performance. 10, we are growing at 8, there's a 2% defect deviations. So this stage, you should determine what needs to be done. Okay, now, if the deviation is an unacceptable range, then business needs to improve its performance. The question is, how do you correct this deviation? It can be done through recruitment, it can be done through training, it can be done through maintenance, it can be done through policies. You look at your budgets, you look at your schedules, and then you can even look at your profit objectives. Maybe you set it up too high. You can also look at your sales quotas that has been given to your workers. Okay. Now, there are various types of corrective strategy. You can use the preventive strategy. This one you put in place before the deviation occurs. So all those types you can find out which one falls into which strategy. So for example, if you look at preventive, you can look at recruitment. So you make sure that you recruit people who fit in. You can also use the deviation correction strategy. That this one is when the deviation comes. What do? You deal with it. And then you have the immediate corrective action. Now this is put in place as the process goes on. So as soon as you see the deviation, you correct it. So if you are supposed to produce 20 outputs per week, it means 4 per day. So if today we did 2, it means there is 2 shortage. So the following day, you make sure you work to produce the 6, so that by the end of the second day, you have your 8. You don't wait till Friday. No, you don't do that. So this is the immediate corrective action. And then you have the behavioral control. Now, this is what you put in place to make sure that people behave in a certain manner. You shape their perception, their knowledge, their everything to behave in the manner that is expected of them, so that you don't have deviations. Okay. Now, so 3 key aspects of behavioral control is you have to reinforce the desired organizational culture. People should know exactly what the culture is in working in the business. And then also you have to look at tying rewards and incentive to goal achievement. So if you don't contribute, so here's more life, no contribution, no chop. So if you don't help in achieving the goals, you are not rewarded accordingly. So whatever you put in is what you are rewarded. And then also you have to set boundaries within which the goals are achieved. That is why you need the policies and all that to determine what needs to be done at what time. Now, researchers have seen that control system cannot be cast in stone, okay, because of the fluid environment we work in. So, what are some of the things that you need to be looking at? One, you need to identify constantly changing environmental information that may have strategic importance. So for example, if you're a businessman now, government says they are going to give support to small businesses and $600 million have been made available. This is a business, this is a news you need as a business. So you quickly find out what can I do to get some of the money to expand my business. So constantly you should be looking in the environment to get information that has strategic impact. And I told you strategic issues are issues that have long-term effect on the business. And then review important information frequently at all levels of the business. Every level and what they do, so they'll be bringing new information. For example, if your middle managers are saying we are achieving our target, but then the lower level are saying no, when we go they are not buying and all those things. You have to review all these things to let you inform whether you are going on with your strategy or you are changing it. And then discuss strategic implementation of new information in regular face-to-face meetings. So once you have new information and its impact on the business, you need to meet them and talk to them so that we change it. And then also engage in debate and discussion to determine which information has significance on the business and how to adapt strategies accordingly. So make sure you discuss what is going on with them so that they know exactly what is going on. It makes it easier for you to change your strategies. Organizational culture is extremely very good because it helps in shaping and getting the desired behavior expected of your staff. So it is a system of shared values and beliefs that shape a business structure, people's behavior, control system, with the goal of producing the behavioral norms. Every business and its norms, and you need certain norms to perform. It signifies values, beliefs, moral, customs, habits, and knowledge acquired by people working in the business. Culture has been said to be the soul of the business because it is critical for either performing or collapsing. Organizational culture defines behavioral boundaries by one, spelling out how employees relate to each other. It gives ethical framework for work and decision making, and then the way an organization conducts business. So this is how culture informs behavior. One, how you relate to each other, how decisions are made, what are the do's and what are the don'ts, and then how the organization needs to conduct its business. So that is how culture defines or helps in determining the boundaries for behavior. There are 4 types of culture that you can come about. You look at the client, the advocacy, the market, and the hierarchy. The clan-oriented one are cultures that behaves more like the family type. So here everybody is seen as being a member of the organization. So it has a high focus on mentoring, fostering, and doing things together. We all lose or we all fail. The advocacy are cultures that are dynamic, entrepreneur, with a focus of risk-taking, innovating, and doing things first. So here, the focus is on getting things done, not as much as people as the client one is. So it's dynamic. So if you are not fitting in, they have to get rid of you and bring in a new person. And then the market orientation cultures are result-oriented with a focus on competition, achieving, and getting the job done. So market orientation, get the job done. That is the focus, get the job done. And then the hierarchy-oriented culture are structured and controlled with a focus on efficiency, stability, and doing things right. So here there is respect for seniority, there is respect for order. You cannot do anything without getting clearance. You need to go by the book. So these are some of the types of cultures that can prevail in an organization. So this is the diagram, you look at it. So if you look at the client culture, for example, you see that if you look at internal focus and integration, it's got very high on it. and then also is very low on stability, is also very low on flexibility. Okay, and also if you look at the external focus, it tends also to be high for advocacy and then also for markets. Okay, so this is how we look at them depending on how you want to explain it. How do you sustain your organizational culture? One, you need to make sure that you recruit employees who fit and align with the business core values. If you bring in people who do not ascribe to that values, they are going to create problem for you. That is why you have people who go into nursing who are not nurses. They tend to be terrible. They make the patients more sick than before they even enter the medical facility. And a system should be put in place to socialize staff to adapt core values of the business. The way we do our things here, that is exactly what organizational culture is. And you need to socialize people, continually tell them, remind them. Okay, that is why you have the mission statement, the vision statement, and core values at the entrance or at the reception of all businesses. So that as soon as you enter every day, you read, and as you read, it sticks into your mind. It becomes more of a photo image that you always see. So that's a way of socializing. So that's why socializing, they punish people who break it, and then people who go outside to do more than it expected are rewarded. The managers should live the core tenets of the business so that it serves as a role models for other staff. So the managers need to, if we say we are for fairness, all managers' activities should be seen as being fair. If we want to be inclusiveness, then everybody should be included in what goes on. So, for example, we'll have a timetable for how people get sponsorship. We'll live by that so that everybody gets his or her turn. And senior executives establish and communicate the norms of the business constantly to employees. So senior managers, whenever they have opportunities, whether debts, a newsletter, whatever, they need to enhance or reinforce the norms so that employees will understand exactly what the culture they are working in is. Now, how do you transmit these cultures to the staff? One, stories. You can use stories. Stories are narrated so that people will understand what the founding fathers did in order to come up with a business. So Ghana, for example, on every 6th of March, we are being told the independence story, independence. It helps us appreciate and understand our status as Ghanaians. Rituals are repetitive activities that express and reinforce key values of the business. Okay, so what are some of the things that the business do to tell you what they are? So, for example, I know that Sinapia, but because of their religious inclination, every morning they have a morning prayer. So when you come, you know that this is a Christian group. It also look at presentations, okay? During what presentation they do for awards and all that helps you understand it. So if you go to the universities, for example, first class and things, those rituals they do for them, there's a standing innovation for them and all those. So those are the rituals they do. And then you also have symbols. What does the business stand for? And that is, you find them all around their items, so like their cars, their dresses, their stationaries, their office. There are certain businesses, they use just one color. So if it is green and white, wherever you go, you see the green and white all over. So that is the symbols that they are supposed to communicate to their stakeholders. And then you have slogans used to symbolize what the business stands for. Okay, so if you look at CBG, we stand by you, is their slogan. So it means once you are standing by me, I expect that when I have problems and I come, you help me solve it. And then you have Apple, think different. Thinking different is we don't come out or you don't do the things normal people do. You should think outside the box. You should be different. So in that case, we expect Apple to always bring different things, which they are doing. And then we bring good things to life. Gee, what good things do they bring to life? They come with TV for you to watch the forms that you like, okay? And MTN, everywhere you go, you meet them everywhere. Wherever you go, you have to meet them. And then also Vodafone, power to you. And then McDonald's, we want to see you smile. So you buy, we want to see that when you eat, you should be happy. That is it. Do you have any questions?